Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching a brand new episode of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with the headlines. Experts from the US and UK arrive in Nigeria to help find the abducted girls by Boko Haram Islamist militants. The experts include military advisors, negotiators and counselors. Nigerian Prime Minister hopes foreign assistance would signal the beginning of the end of terror in Nigeria. Anti-government protesters led by leader Suthep Thaugsuban bent on toppling caretaker government in Thailand. Protests held across important establishments all over the country. Thailand's capital Bangkok remains tense. ANC wins again in South Africa. South Africa's ruling ANC wins a fifth consecutive term. President Jacob Zuma returns to power for a second term. ANC manages to secure over 62% of the votes, followed by the Democratic Alliance with 22%. And Real Madrid superstar Cristiano Ronaldo unlikely to play in the Champions League final. Footballer suffered a hamstring injury during a league game against Valladolid on Wednesday. First up in the program, residents of Nigerian capital Abuja staged protests demanding effective action from its government in the rescue of over 200 schoolgirls kidnapped 3 weeks ago. Nigerian police offered a $300,000 reward for information leading to the rescue of the girls. Meanwhile, world leaders vowed to help find the schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram. Here's a report.
The mass kidnapping of over 200 schoolgirls in Nigeria last month by militant group Boko Haram triggered an international outcry and protests in Nigeria. This has piled pressure on the government to get the girls back. Public anger mounted after locals said another 8 girls had been seized from the same remote northeastern area by suspected members of the group on Tuesday.
I think they should do more. I don't think they are doing enough, but I wish they can do more. But maybe something that is more beyond their control. So I wish, I hope, I'm praying, and please asking them, please try more, and get these girls out. Get them out of those monsters, from these monsters, and please, I'm so angry because it's just too much. It's too much for a mother to go through this.
Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan pledged to find the girls abducted by the Islamist rebels, saying their rescue would mark the beginning of end of terror in the country.
By your presence here in Nigeria at this time, you have already supported us to win the war against terror. You are coming here to support us morally. It's a major blow on the terrorists. And by God's grace, we'll conquer the terrorists.
Jonathan also thanked foreign nations, including the United States, Britain, France and China, for their support in trying to rescue the girls who were kidnapped from a secondary school on April 14.
The Premier of China has been with us since yesterday for a state visit, and the government of China have promised to assist us, and I believe that assistance will come almost immediately. The government of the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and France have also spoken with me and have expressed their commitment to help us resolve this crisis in Nigeria. I believe that the kidnap of these girls will be the beginning of end of terror in Nigeria.
US President Barack Obama issued a somber warning on Wednesday that the kidnapping of the Nigerian girls and sectarian conflicts worldwide shows man's darkest impulses. France said it plans to send about 10 intelligence experts to Nigeria to help find the kidnapped schoolgirls. Islamic extremist group Boko Haram has admitted to abducting the girls and is threatening to sell them because of their Western education.
And joining me on the show right now is Ambassador Soni. He, in fact, has been an ambassador to several of the African countries in the past. Ambassador Soni, welcome to the show. And this particular crisis has been going on for over 3 weeks now, and the public anger has only risen over the last few days. Do we see an end to this crisis anytime soon?
I do not think so, because this crisis was anticipated. In fact, there was an intelligence report to the effect that something like that is going to happen. In fact, what is more, a few hours before the crisis happened, an advance warning was given, but apparently the force which was available in that region was not adequate. They did ask for a backup support, which came much later, and by which time the damage had been done. And so this is desperate people. You are talking about the Boko Haram are desperate people, and they are really, really, I would say, worse than terrorists.
Okay.
Because people talk about Al-Qaeda, but here is the worst form of terrorism. You are targeting schoolgirls, and what is their crime? Just because they happen to be studying in a school. The issue right now is whether the girls should go to the schools, but of course they should. I mean, take the case of Malala.
Yes.
In fact, you would have seen the statement which she made, and I thought it was a very fervent appeal which she made. So until and unless somebody comes forward and says, girls are also human beings, and these did not consist of only Christian girls. There were Muslim girls, and there were also the local girls so it's not adherence to a particular religion. It's just that they wanted that Western education must not be encouraged.
Indeed, indeed. And the name also suggests so. It says Boko Haram, which is against Western education, basically. But let's talk about the issue at hand now. Do we see another Sudan-like situation in Nigeria? Because Boko Haram has been fighting for a separate Islamist state in Nigeria. Now, can we see the crisis or the issue only intensify further?
No, I would say that it is it's also political, it's economic. We are talking also about oil. You must understand that Nigerian foreign exchange reserves, foreign exchange earnings are 70% from oil.
Yes.
And oil is not in the north. So what they're saying is wherever the oil is found, the benefits are not accruing to them. They should be shared because most of these people are in northeast, and they feel that there should be more infrastructure. But that's a problem which is in Nigeria. If you were to see, it's a rich country, and I was quite amazed to read yesterday from the Economist magazine, the latest one, saying that today Nigeria's economy has overtaken South Africa's. It used to be 320 odd for South Africa. Nigeria today has $510 million. Sorry, $1 billion.
$1 billion, yes.
And maybe they were not calculating it properly, but now they have found a system. So what does that signify? That there is something happening, the economic activity is there, but the infrastructure still woefully lacking.
Okay, all right. Now, Gordon Brown, of course, former UK Prime Minister, who's part of the UN now, has come out and speculated that the girls could have been moved to some other countries, maybe Chad or some of the neighboring countries as well. Now, if that really is the case, then the task at hand for the officials becomes far more difficult, doesn't it?
It does, but I hope, and of course, as Jonathan Goodwill himself said, that to move such a huge number of girls, they would need maybe a few scores of vehicles and a whole lot of things which go with it. To cross the border with that kind of contingent will not be easy. But let's hope it doesn't happen, because within the country they can manage. The other thing one has to bear in mind is, are there other foreign organizations behind that? I don't think so.
Okay.
Because even though they may have had some dealings with Al-Qaeda some time back, but it was nothing more than just a discussion, maybe fellow travelers in the March for Islam. But I don't think that any technical support is coming. But the worrisome factor is that some of the items which have been discovered, which means small Molotov bombs, that kind of a thing. That means that there are some educated people, some technically qualified people who are with them. How, if they go out of the country, then it will be difficult. I would think that now that the focus of the entire world is there, and as you also announced at the beginning of the program, that the Americans and the British forces
the UK
are
forces,
already there, and it is very easy nowadays. The technology is so good that from the satellite you can make out how the movement of particular...
And the US drones as well are very helpful in
to
these
my
kind
mind,
of matters.
Let's hope and pray that the poor girls come out unscathed and there are no problems that they face.
Say, for instance, these girls come back safe and sound. Now, what happens in the future? How is the Nigerian government going to deal with an organization like a Boko Haram?
First of all, you must think of the girls. They've gone through a trauma. That is, that kind of a stigma also attached, because they come from a very, pretty much like in India, they come from a very conservative society.
Yes.
To have been hauled up like that, that is one thing. But the issue is overall, because it has been going on for more than 20 years. Boko Haram was, of course, they killed the leader a few years back, but that has not stopped them from coming. There has to be a resolve, and it should not be left to the Nigerians themselves, because the entire region will be affected. If you were to go back to history, Islam was introduced, was benign, was not through wars. It was through the traders, through scholars who traveled all the way from wherever. So you don't see that there are any problems in the past. But of late, you find whenever, take the case of Kenya, take the case of Somalia. If you were to see, these are the trends which are happening. So if you were to control or address only one country, what about the rest of them?
Yes.
So the basic problem should be that all the world community should get together and see how to solve the problem in its totality. You just can't go and see one part of it and then the other remains unattended.
Yes.
So there has to be a strategy. It's an overall strategy, a strategy in which everybody participates, and a strategy which deals with firmly, because these kind of attempts must not be allowed until and unless they get a message that there is a heavy price they are going to pay, pretty much like what they are trying to do in Russia vis-a-vis Ukraine.
Yes.
So that is the way to go about it. Give them a very stern message, tough message. Say that it has to be handled in a manner which is no-nonsense approach.
All right, indeed, of course. Thank you so much, Ambassador V.B. Soni, for joining us on the program and sharing your thoughts and perspectives on the show and taking us through what exactly might happen there in Nigeria as far as those poor little girls are concerned. Well, we'll slip into a very short break right now, but on the other side, of course, we'll take a look at what's happening in Thailand and bring you up to date with the latest political situation there in Thailand. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching World Panorama right here on Rajya Sabha television. Well, thousands of protesters fanned out across Thailand's capital to try to bring down a caretaker government after a court threw the Prime Minister out of office and an anti-graft agency indicted her for negligence. The interim government is hoping to organize a July 20th election that it would probably win, but the protesters want the government out, the election postponed, and reforms to end the influence of Yingluck's brother, former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra. Here's a report.
Thousands of anti-government protesters led by leader Suthep Thaugsuban rallied outside Government House in Bangkok, determined to bring down a caretaker government after a court threw Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra out of office and an anti-graft agency indicted her for negligence. Suthep had urged the protesters to rally outside Parliament, the Prime Minister's offices and 5 television stations to prevent them from being used by the government. Government House has the official offices of Prime Minister, but which have been empty since January.
ไม่ใช่ไปร้ายเราไปอยู่เป็นเพื่อนท่านเพื่อไม่ให้ทรราชมันกดขี่บังคับท่านให้เป็นกระบอกเสียงของมันอีกต่อไปเท่านั้นเอง
Yingluck's Pheu Thai party still runs the interim government and is hoping to organize a July 20 election that it would probably win, but the protesters want the government out and the election postponed.
อันนี้ถ้ายังอยู่ในระบบทักษิณยังอยู่ก็ซื้ออีกอ่ะพี่ว่าก็ยังเหมือนเดิมไม่น่าจะดีขึ้นแต่พี่ว่าถ้ายุบสภาก่อนแล้วมาเลือกตั้งอาจจะช่วยได้เยอะได้อย่างที่ลุงกำนันพูดอ่ะ
Trouble flared at another protest site when police fired tear gas at a crowd of several hundred trying to force their way into a police compound. The Center of Resolution for the Emergency Situation, a body set up by the government and the military to manage the state of emergency in 2010, urged people not to get involved in the street protests, warning they could be punished by law.
สอรส.ขอประณามการกระทำของนายสุเทพเทือกสุบรรณกับพวกแกนนำกปปส.ห และขอเรียกร้องให้ประชาชนงดเว้นการเข้าร่วมกระทำความผิดมิฉะนั้นจะต้องถูกดำเนินคดีตามกฎหมายทุกคนโดยไม่มีการละเว้น
Tens of thousands of Shinawat's red shirt supporters angered by Yingluck's ouster also reached Bangkok for a rally on Saturday. They are clinging to the hope that the interim government will win the July election and bring Shinawat's party back to power. The presence of rival protesters in the capital over the weekend has raised fears of trouble. Both sides have armed activists in their ranks. 25 people have been killed since the anti-government protests began in November.
Well, the African National Congress brushed off political scandals and economic discontent to win a fifth consecutive South African election. The party, however, fell short of regaining a two-thirds majority. With all votes counted, the ANC had a 62.2% share of the vote, down from the 65.9% it won in the 2009 election, according to the National Election Commission. The result guarantees a second five-year term for the controversial President Jacob Zuma. The leading opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, was on 22.2%, up from 16.6% at the last elections. Often criticized as white-dominated and redolent of the apartheid era, the party said that it gained 1.1 million new voters, including 700,000 votes from black South Africans. Well, let's now bring you up to date with the other international news in our special segment, Globe Watch.
South Korea on Thursday said it would revoke the license of the company owning the ferry that sank with the loss of around 300 lives last month, as prosecutors prepared manslaughter charges against its chief executive. Kim Han-sik, head of Songjin Marine Company, was picked up at his home south of Seoul and taken into custody in the southwestern port city of Mokpo. Kim faces various charges including manslaughter and violating maritime law. Syrian rebels blew up a luxury hotel turned army base in the historic heart of Aleppo on Thursday after tunneling under the front line that divides the main northern city. State television gave no word on any casualties from the attack that leveled the famed Carlton Citadel Hotel just across the road from the city's UNESCO-listed citadel. But the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 14 troops and pro-regime militia were killed in the blast and its immediate aftermath. A spokesman for Syria's biggest rebel alliance, the Islamic Front, said its fighters carried out the attack. Pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine vowed to go ahead with a referendum on independence, defying Russian President Vladimir Putin's surprise call for Sunday's vote to be postponed. The coordinating committee of a group attempting to establish a Donetsk People's Republic announced its decision following a meeting on Thursday. Denis Pushlin, the group's leader, said the vote by the 78 deputies was unanimous. The US has closed its embassy in Yemen to the public following a string of attacks against foreigners in the country. Police were deployed along all roads leading to the embassy in Sana'a on Thursday and conducted thorough inspections of vehicles in the area. The country's defense ministry said the closure of the US embassy was prompted by fears that Al-Qaeda fighters might retaliate against the military's crackdown on their organization. North Korea is making final preparations to conduct its fourth nuclear test but may not do so, South Korea's defense minister said on Thursday. Defense Minister Kim Kwon-jin told South Korean journalists that North Korea could detonate a nuclear device the instant the decision is made, though he did not elaborate on what the final step of those preparations was, according to ministry officials. North Korea has threatened in recent weeks to conduct a nuclear test to protest what it calls US and South Korean hostility and international condemnation over its rocket and missile tests earlier this year.
Well, let's now give you a quick roundup of all the sporting action from around the world. The NBA awarded Oklahoma City Thunder forward Kevin Durant with this season's Most Valuable Player award. In a lengthy and tearful ceremony, Durant thanked his family members, every single teammate from Russell Westbrook to little-known Grant Cherrett, The entire Thunder coaching staff and organization, Oklahoma City, and the Oklahoma newspaper for calling him Mr. Unreliable. The MVP award was Durant's first in his 7th NBA season. It was also the first for a franchise that began as the Seattle Supersonics during the 1967-68 season before moving to Oklahoma City in 2008. Manchester City has come within touching distance of clinching the Premier League title for the second time in 3 years following their 4-0 victory over Aston Villa on Wednesday at the Etihad Stadium, which brought them to the top of the rankings. The win by Manuel Pellegrini's side, who leads Liverpool by only 2 points, eliminates third-place Chelsea from the title race, and they can take away the silver if they avoid defeat at home to West Ham United on Sunday. However, City can afford a draw as they have a goal difference advantage of plus 13 over Liverpool, who host Newcastle United. Paris Saint-Germain has been confirmed as the French champions after winning their second successive Ligue 1 title following Monaco's 1-1 draw against Guingamp on Wednesday. The result left PSG with an unassailable 7 points lead and sparked wild celebrations before the team's game at Parc des Princes against Rennes, which the hosts however lost 2-1. PSG, which had already won the League Cup earlier in the season, has led the league title race since it thrashed Bastia 4-0 in October. Real Madrid superstar Cristiano Ronaldo has reportedly fallen victim to a hamstring injury during a 1-1 draw with relegation-threatened Valladolid in the La Liga on Wednesday. The injury, which occurred in the 9th minute of the game, made the Portugal striker doubtful for the weekend's game against Celta Vigo and perhaps even the Champions League final. The result leaves Real, which began the game without the injured Gareth Bale, 4 points adrift of Atletico Madrid, who face Malaga on Sunday before a final day showdown with Barcelona. Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt has reportedly requested the thieves who stole his signed pair of running shoes from a commercial premises to return the £20,000 prize spikes. Bolt told his 3.3 million Twitter followers that he knows that they love him, but please, why did they have to go stealing his signed spikes? Burglars reportedly stole the running shoes from an industrial estate in South London between April 26th and April 28th. Well, now let's bring you up to date with the international news from around the globe in our entertainment segment.
Angelina Jolie has revealed that she never thought that she would find love or have children. The Academy Award winner, while posing for the cover of Elle, asserted that she never thought she would meet the right person because when one comes from a broken home, they kind of accept that certain things feel like a fairy tale and one just did not look for them. Jennifer Lopez has admitted that her split from Marc Anthony was a very difficult time in her life. The pop diva said that she went through a tremendous low but added that she wouldn't change anything about her past as it made her who she was. She said that she was certainly guilty of that for some time but realized that she's good on her own and can share her life with somebody else. Hollywood star Bruce Willis has welcomed his second child, another baby girl, with model wife Emma Hemming. Willis and Hemming, who are already parents of 2-year-old Mabel Ray, welcomed Evelyn on the 5th of May. Hemming also took to Instagram to share a snapshot of her husband, with whom she celebrated her 5th anniversary on the 21st of March. The die-hard star also has daughters with former wife Demi Moore. Julia Roberts has revealed that she still hasn't met George Clooney's fiancée, but she finds her beautiful and smart. The 46-year-old actress called the commitment sublime and couldn't manage to hide the excitement about her longtime friend Clooney's engagement to human rights lawyer Amal Alamuddin. She revealed that what matters to her the most is the happiness of her Ocean's 11 co-star. Jennifer Lawrence is worried that her pattern of stumbling on the red carpet may make fans sick of her. The 23-year-old Oscar-winning star said she finds herself very annoying as she gets really hyper on red carpets and she cannot pose for the camera even if it's a good opportunity. The American Hustle star added that she doesn't like to be a laughing stock and keeps telling herself to calm down.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World Panorama. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again, same time, same place next week.